So welcome back to Basin Motorsports for another exciting episode. So today, I think I have found junkyard gold. So I found a couple guys that had, I think, all the pieces I need to get the wide body back together. So I am running to town. I got delivery confirmation of the parts for an oil pressure gauge, a heater control cable, and a new set of controls that hopefully will get my blower and everything else working. So I'm gonna run into town. I gotta stop and feed my in-laws cats real quick while I'm headed to town, and then we're gonna go in. We're going to get the packages and probably some lunch and a couple other things. So I tell you, I am pretty amped up today. So I tell you what, I feel like I've done nothing but buy parts all week. Every time I need something, I find two other things I need to buy too. So I've got like seals coming for the 86. I've got something for the fuel tank. Let's see what else I buy. Of course, I got the controls, I got the cables, working on the wheel well stuff for the wide body. And then last night I started looking up all the rules for the different autocross and track stuff I wanted to do. It's like SCCA for the Cam T, which is I think it's the American muscle car kind of deal. The T is traditional. It's, I want to say 89 and older. Maybe it's 88, somewhere around there. So that's where the wide body would fit in since it's an 80. Try to look up the stuff there. And let's see. No one's coming. And then looking up, stuff for Optima. And then you've got also Good Guys. Those are the three things I want to take the wide body to. Now look at all the different rules. You've got to be careful. You can't do too much of one thing. SCCA is going to be closest for the track. It's only about 2 hours. Good Guys is about 6 down in San Francisco area. And then Optima, I think the closest they come is Vegas, which is, geez, without even towing a trailer, it's still 12 hours. So I'm keeping an eye on that. But in order to do that 2000 Cobra R lower bumper that I want to do, I don't know if it's going to fit in the SCCA Cam T rules, because you can't extend past the perimeter of the car, which means if it sticks out too far forward, which is what I worry about, that it won't qualify. So I may have to fit the bumper on and take it off to be able to run SCCA, which is not a big deal. It's not like it's going to be something so spectacular that it's going to make a huge difference in how the car handles. It's more looks, more for fun, the challenge of putting it on there and seeing what it does. For Optima, it's got to be at least 3 inches off the ground, but there are no other restrictions. And that's just a speed bump rule. It's supposed to be a street car, so you got to have it high enough to clear speed bumps, which is 3 inches. And then for Good Guys, there is no restriction on aerodynamic additions, I guess. So I could go with a big wing. I could go with a big front air dam or rear air dam, diffuser, ground effect, all that stuff. It doesn't matter. So between doing all that stuff, man, I'm just getting amped up for the season. Just between the two builds, they come and they go, and you get to a point where sometimes you're just like, oh, God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of building, and I've kind of been dragging my butt this week, not working on stuff. I've been kind of tinkering, but today I'm feeling pretty good. If I can get these parts in and get the interior back in the wide body, holy moly, I will be so excited to have that done. And finally just check that box that wiring is done, everything runs, the gauges work, the heat works. I don't have to mess with any of that stuff anymore, and I can go on to suspension and other stuff. The stuff that I think is going to be a lot more fun, that's a quick turnaround, it doesn't feel like such a grind. Alright, so we made it home with the boxes, and here's what I got. A new oil pressure gauge, it goes in there. Now I think this is out of a 79 Cobra, I believe. A temperature control cable, and in box number 2, new set of controls. Now this is out of an 80 car, I believe, something like that. Same thing, same fan speed, all the other controls, temp, and then it's got a defroster, which my car is not a defroster car, so this is just going to go unused. Fancy, not needed. So, but finding controls in really good shape, other than I think this has got a little bit of a break here. Not a big deal. This is going to be a beautiful set to go with it. So in order to get the, I guess, the interior back in, really what I need to do is put the controls in and make sure they actually work. I need to put the temperature cable in to make sure that flows correctly or goes up and down to max min on hot cold. Change the oil pressure gauge, and then really pretty much beyond that is just put in the rest of the pieces. Oh, and I have to fix the wiring again. More like just finish the wiring. So I got to do all that to get the interior back together, and then I can call that good and start working on the exterior and the suspension. In order to change out this oil pressure gauge, first thing we're going to do is take off the main frame of it. So you've got these black screws here that take 1/4 inch there. There are, I think there's 5 or 6 corners, and I know there's a top one there. And then once you're done that, you need to disconnect them from the board and the surface, which is going to be these 2 nuts here. And these are going to be, I think, an 8mm. My socket's worn enough, I can't read it, but it fits. So I think it's an 8mm there. We'll take that off and then pop that new one in, replace it, and it'll look fantastic. All right, so a couple things I want to show you guys that I'm doing on this is on the radio and the cigarette lighter. So I don't smoke, so it's kind of pointless for me to have a lighter in there. So I've actually opened up the hole where it goes, and I've put in a dual power point. So that will be able to charge my phone. That's just a little something I got off Amazon for a few bucks. So that'll go in there. That gets covered up nice. And the other piece is this radio. Now you can see how broken out all this stuff is. You know, just some real gouges in that from somebody else. So what I did is I bought a kit from Metra off of Amazon also, and it comes with all these rings. Now all these trim rings are different thicknesses. So if I show you, kind of, here's the other pieces to them. So you got a real thick one, a real thin one, one step up, and then you've got one that goes even a little bit bigger. So I've had to cut this down roughly about a little over 1/4 inch on each side. But you can see that will go in there. Cleans it up, and then once you put this cage in here, you bend the tongs, you bend these tabs and all that stuff. What it's going to do is it's going to sandwich. So it'll sandwich here on the front, which gives it good support, and then it squishes the back. So you'll then put your radio in, and it will be nice and held still. All right, so we are back done, and I've got everything working. So the reason I didn't have oil pressure gauge was I didn't have the wire hooked up. I remember that, so I hooked that up. Everything functions. I still feel like I think I've got a ground somewhere that's not doing what it should be. The reason is the safety belt, the fasten safety belt sign, I think that's one that it is. It lights up like it's pulling ground, I think. And I'm not real sure, but everything functions. The radio works, the heater controls work, the blower motor works as it should. You start the car up, it functions and cycles all the air conditioning door, I guess, at the bottom down here. You've got all the pieces, and I can kind of see down there with the radio itself. I'm not going to wrap it all in black tape. What I'm just going to do is for every few inches, I'm just going to zip tie it. That way it makes it so I don't have to like peel off all kinds of tape and that. So I think everything's going to work. What we need to do now is just basically drop the column, get the gauges out, get all the pieces out, get the column out of the way, drop it down, and then I can put the dash back in. So now at this point, I know I am jumping ahead from kind of showing you pieces to doing the wiring, but you guys have seen all this stuff if you watch the other pieces. You don't need to see me looking through a book and a manual trying to figure out what goes where, but everything functions. So now it's just a matter of really just getting this dash back in and then showing you the finished product. All right, so I've jumped ahead a few days from where I last filmed, and I've got everything put in. So I was just taking a minute to reflect on where I'm at with the car. I'm excited to this point, but I'm also disappointed. Just things didn't work out on the interior like I thought, and it's just opportunity to fix it. But I bet to this point, if you guys have watched this far, you are excited to see this interior just as much as I am to show it. So let's go inside to take a look at the interior. So here's the finished product. Get that new car smell in because it's only going to be clean and fresh once. So everything works. Glove box doesn't fit great. Dash is of course scratched because I did not paint it. But you've got carbon fiber wrap. You have a radio. And there is my USB. Now again, it has a digital volt meter in it, which I thought was kind of cool. It is wired on to the point where it's always on. And the radio's with a key, gauge bezel there, and then everything else is good. I just need a dash pad. Now if I show you the driver's side, everything there looks good. Gauges all work, and everything kind of fits in there. So again, love that new car smell. That's kind of what it is, but everything fits. It's all functional. And yeah, I'm digging it. Now let's talk about the disappointing pieces. So here's the disappointing pieces I'm going to talk about. This here is a 1985 gauge bezel. This car is an 80, and so you'll notice these two are not in line. So if I really showed you, this is what it should mount to, and this is where the actual mount is. So now the problem with this is I didn't realize that mount location on the 85 was different from the 80. So I actually have the original 80. I also have one from a 79 Capri that is in much better condition. I'm going to run it like it is for now, but as soon as I get that dash pad in here, this bezel is not going to be what I want. It's not going to fasten in the center like it should, which means I'm probably going to rewrap the, well, I'm going to leave the 85 wrap carbon, and then I'll rewrap an 80, or probably the 79 Capri. It's wood grain. I don't like it. I'll probably just rewrap it either in carbon fiber like this, or I don't know, maybe I'll switch to something else. Maybe I'll switch to a straight black. Not sure yet. But this 85 piece, well, honestly, it's probably going to go up for sale. I'm not really digging it as it is, but you guys are interested, let me know. I'll let it go. Decently cheap. It's pretty nice. So as far as this being on all the time, not really digging that either. I may put this to a switch or to it powered by the key. That's just a matter of wiring. If I don't really like it, I can just unplug it from the back. Very easy. It's a 2-prong plug. I can just take the ground off and leave it alone. Now this radio came from the 92, so I had put it in literally, what, a couple days before I drove the car. And the thing that sucks is this thing doesn't even work anymore. This is to eject the CD. You can see it's got a CD icon. And it shuts off. So what that means is I probably need to put a new radio in here. Now granted, this radio before was only like 40 or 50 bucks. It wasn't a lot, but at least the speakers are wired to it. It doesn't play, which is irritating. So not a big deal. It's just kind of one of those things like, oh man, really? So now I got to put another radio in. So for now I'm just going to leave it alone. I didn't have a radio before, so I wasn't too worried about it. And also to note is that I did not realize that one of my speakers was damaged. It didn't have the connectors to it, to where the wires connect to on the rear passenger. So, you know, in order to replace those are put in from the top. At least I put them in from the top. So I have to strip out the back half of the car just to even get to the speakers. So guess what? I'm going to run with 3 speakers out of 4 because I don't want to take this all back apart again to fix a speaker right now. Now, I don't want you to think it's all doom and gloom with the wide body, because it is absolutely not. The amount of screws I had left over when I got to the end of all my bags that were tagged and everything else was very minimal. So I'll say, other than a few things here and there, taking a car completely apart and put it in bags and putting it back together, to have a handful of screws left, I think I did okay on that. So I'm going to leave the interior the way it is. I'll get a dash pad ordered, and then I may even not switch that gauge bezel for a little bit. Just be nice just to drive it around as it is, just to leave it alone. It's been nice to have it together, and it'll be as it is. So now on the wide body, I've just got a little bit of stuff to do for the rest of the year, at least to get it to the drivable point. I'm going to keep tinkering, but I got to fix a leak, a coolant leak on the front of the engine at the timing area, timing cover, I guess you'd say. It's there, and then I need to fix a power steering leak, which I think one of the sides where the tie rod connection point comes in, the tie rod end goes in to there. 2 simple leaks. We'll get them fixed up. Not a big deal. I think getting all these parts put back in the car is the absolute win of this all. It's all together. It's there. I can drive it as it is. All the gauges work. I don't have to worry about it losing oil pressure or coolant going out. I now have a voltmeter with the USB thing, so it's a huge win. If you guys have any questions on all the stuff I used, like the Metro piece, the USB piece, check the description. I've definitely got some stuff down there. And that is, guys, that is to the point I wanted to get this car to. The rest is going to be just upgrades on making it better from the base point, which that is what this is now. This is what I'm going to consider the baseline. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me for 2.5 years, putting this car together. Almost coming up on 3 years of building this car to this point. And it has been a whirlwind tour, I'll tell you that. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Welcome to all you new guys, and thanks for sticking around to all you veterans. We'll see you next time.